Greetings, everybody. This is the orientation. Here we're just going to look at Unit 1, and this will apply for the rest of the units. Unit 1 will be different in that it has an assignment involved with it. It requires you to watch a film, a documentary on Reconstruction. The rest of the units don't. So the other units will work in this same way. So you can go to the unit by clicking right here, or you can click down here. Either way will get you there. So we'll go right here. Notice it has dates associated with it. The course is somewhat self-paced. I mean, there are due dates and expiration dates and all of that, but you can go through this as you see fit, right? There is a recommended schedule, which you can find on the course website, but my advice to you is to go through this stuff thoroughly and as expeditiously as possible. So let's begin with Reconstruction. And again, this one has an assignment associated with it. It's the only one that has an assignment associated with it. It requires you to watch a film, so let's click this right here. You watch the film, click here, and a YouTube page will open up for you. Watch the film, and then respond to these questions. So highly recommend to print out these questions ahead of time, obviously, and put some space, but maybe 4 or 5 lines between each question, and then just respond as you watch the film. They should go in order, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. This expires on the 31st, so make sure you have that done. All right, so that's the film. This assignment 1. Let's go back to Reconstruction and going to the lectures. So for Reconstruction, you have a essay assignment that you're preparing for, and this is how all of the lectures work. So this applies to the rest of them as well. So the first essay question for the semester is discuss the 2 constitutional theories that evolved around the question of Reconstruction. Within your discussion, identify the 3 phases of Reconstruction and how congressional Reconstruction was a reaction to presidential Reconstruction. Describe the Compromise of 1877 and its effect on reestablishing white supremacy. So how do you respond to this essay question? You go through each lecture for this. So and each lecture has a learning objective. So learning objective 1, you'll notice that generally the learning objectives are part and parcel of the essay question. Sometimes they get a little bit more specific. The essay question could be a very general question regarding the subject matter, and so the learning objectives do get more specific. And so learning objective 1, discuss the 2 constitutional theories that evolved around the question of Reconstruction. That is right there. That's the first learning objective. What I highly, highly, highly recommend. I highly recommend this. So if you didn't catch that, I highly recommend this. Most students will ignore this advice at first. Don't be that one student. In fact, I imagine all of you are the student that will take this advice. But for those that are thinking, oh, screw this, I'm not going to listen to this guy, please just listen. Just please listen to this, right? Write down the learning objective with one of these things, with a pen or a pencil. Write it down. So get yourself a notebook, a 3-ring notebook or a spiral notebook, whatever the case is, and label the first page Reconstruction and write this down. Discuss the 2 constitutional theories that evolved around the question of Reconstruction. And then scroll down before you even watch the lecture, right? Write down learning objective 2. Discuss presidential Reconstruction and how its weaknesses led to congressional Reconstruction. Write that down. Physically write that down. And so on and so forth until you get to the last learning objective. So write them all down. All right? That'll do. What that will do is that will help you become aware of what you're going to be looking for. What it is that I'm imparting to you in this lecture, in other words, before the lecture even begins. Right? So a lot of these words, presidential Reconstruction, theories, constitutional theories. What else do we have here? The Compromise of 1877. Some of these words and terms and dates, obviously you're not familiar with, right? So if you physically write these down, it will just give your brain a little, right, to look for this stuff. Right? And so after you view this lecture segment right here, hey everybody, we're going to be looking at, there I am, right, giving a lecture on Reconstruction. If after the end of that 9-minute or 10-minute clip there, you don't know what the constitutional theories are, then that's an indication that you should probably go back to it, right? And let me give you this advice too. A lot of students will ignore this, but please heed this advice. You'll want to watch this 2 or 3 times. The first time, write down the learning objective and just take notes as you see fit. But don't try to get it, because you're not going to get it the first time, right? You might get some of them, a little bit of it, but not the whole thing, right? And that's perfectly normal. This is not, most students are taking this course because it's part of their required core, right? So you're not budding historians. And so it's something you're not inherently interested in, maybe, right? Some of you might have some innate interest in it, but most of you, it's history class, right? You're not interested in it. So don't be too anxious if you don't get it. Watch it once. Take notes. Do take notes, but don't try to write down everything I say. Just write down dates, names, things that I say. You're done with that learning objective, then immediately just go to learning objective 2, and don't worry if you don't get it, because you probably won't the first time. Go to learning objective 2, same thing. Write down, just gingerly, just write down some notes. As I mentioned, dates or laws or battles or court cases, whatever the case may be. Just write some stuff down, but don't try to write down everything, and don't write it in a way that, oh gosh, I hope I don't get anything. And really check yourself, especially if you're an overachiever. If you find yourself trying to write down every single word I say, stop yourself, right? Because that's really not going to help you with anything, right? So learning objective 3, when you're done with learning objective 2, just move on immediately to learning objective 3. You've already written it down, and just again, gingerly just view it, writing things down. You get to learning objective 4, same thing. Just view it without the expectation of even getting it, right? Don't worry if you get it or not. And then walk away. Walk away from it, right? Move on to something else. Move on to a different class, go do something else, move on to the next lecture, right? That's, so this is why, as I mentioned in the first video, you want to come up with a set schedule on this stuff, right? You don't want to just do this when you have time to, right? You want to pretend as if you're going to class 3-4 times a week throughout the week, right? 2 to 3 hours at a time, or 1 to 2 hours at a time, depending on how much you need and what you're able to do. So the second day you come at this, you have your notes, and then you're ready to do it again, right? So the second time, now you'll know what's coming up, and some of the stuff that you've written down, and some of the stuff that some of it might have seeped into your gray matter. Now when you watch it again, it will make a little bit, it'll be in more context. It'll make sense, right? And there's a reason for that, right? You come at it the next day, and there's a reason why you might retain it a little bit better. You might not get it entirely, even the second time. But the reason why you might get it a little bit more is that you've slept, right? And you dreamed. And that's the function of dreaming. That's the biological function of dreaming, is what your brain does when you're dreaming is it's organizing all of the information and putting it in its metaphoric compartments within the gray matter. Right, so this is why you want to give yourself time with this material in a spread out, methodical fashion. Right, real important that you do that if you intend to succeed in this course. And you, right there looking at me right now, you do intend to succeed in this course. So really heed my advice when it comes to this, on how to approach this information. It'll help, guarantee it. Right, all our brains are different. Right, we're one-of-a-kind mutations, but there are some generalities about how the human mind works that we can assume. So really heed my advice when it comes to that, because I really like to see all of you succeed in this course, and this is a good way of doing it. So some of you will resist it and say, I can get this some other way, but the students that heed my advice generally do succeed. Okay, so that's reconstruction. When you're done with reconstruction, it'll be time to move on to the West. Social Darwinism, the labor movement. You want to have assignment 1 done by, I gotta change the date there. You want it by January 31st. And exam 1 expires February 12th, and the Taking Sides essay expires, is due February 13th. So that's how that works, right? The exam 1, if you haven't done this already, you want to what's it called? You want to download Respondus Lockdown Browser. Do that now. If you haven't done that already, do that now. I mentioned that in a previous orientation video. Do that now. If you don't have it, it's right here. Click the link. If you have Windows, click here. If you have Mac, click there. It's as simple as that. If you have problems, you want to call 872-2598. 872-2598. That's the number to distance learning. In fact, I would put that in your contacts for your cell number right this second, right? Because it is the internet, it's technology. Things don't go as well as intended sometimes. So go ahead and do that. All right. So make sure you have that. The Taking Sides essay, I will talk more about this in a separate video, but you get all the information and you submit it right here. Again, it expires February 15th. Okay, that's how all of the units work. Exams and papers, exams and papers, exams and papers. Let me just throw this out there. It's on the syllabus, but you get a 90% or higher on all of the assignments, the exams, and the papers. You don't have to do the final exam. So let me repeat that. It's an incentive, right? 90% on everything in the class that you do, then you're exempt from the final exam. I'll automatically put a 100% in it. That's all for now. Go forth and be great. Do let me know if you have any questions, concerns. Email me, right? I get paid to be here, so make me earn my money. All right, email me, and then if we need to talk on the phone, we could talk on the phone. If we can do video conference, we could do video conference. So I'll talk